After midnight on July 17, 1918, footsteps stopped outside a bedroom in Yekaterinburg. The Romanov family was asleep inside a house ringed by armed guards. Their doctor, Eugene Botkin, woke them with an order from the commandant. Get dressed quickly. Fighting threatened the city, and everyone would be moved somewhere safer. Nicholas lifted his sick 13-year-old son, Alexei, into his arms. Alexandra and their 4 daughters followed him down a narrow staircase carrying pillows and a few belongings. At the bottom waited a small basement room, 2 chairs, and an armed squad. Within minutes, no prisoner taken into that room would be left alive. The family walking downstairs carried the name of a dynasty that had begun in 1613, when Mikhail Romanov was chosen as Tsar after Russia's time of troubles. In 1913, Nicholas II celebrated its 300th anniversary with processions, church services, banners, and crowds. The monarchy looked ancient enough to survive anything. 4 years later, war, hunger, military losses, strikes, and a collapsing transport system stripped that confidence away. Soldiers ordered to suppress demonstrations began joining them instead. Nicholas abdicated in March 1917 under pressure from generals and politicians. His brother Michael did not accept the crown, so Romanov rule ended then, not in the basement 16 months later. Nicholas returned to the Alexander Palace as Colonel Romanov, a private citizen under guard. The former rulers still had titles in family conversation, but no state, army, or throne. Alexei, the only son and former heir, had hemophilia. A bruise could become fatal. Alexandra's faith in Rasputin as his protector had already damaged the monarchy's reputation. Rasputin was murdered by aristocrats in December 1916, but removing him saved nothing. The war and the regime's failures had already carried the crisis far beyond one scandalous holy man. During house arrest at Tsarskoye Selo, the family planted a kitchen garden and cut wood while sentries watched. Their world had contracted, but it still resembled home. The provisional government sent them east to Tobolsk in August 1917. After the Bolsheviks seized power, the rules tightened, money dwindled, and rumors of rescue repeatedly dissolved. In the spring of 1918, they were moved again to Yekaterinburg and confined in the Ipatiev House. The Bolsheviks called it the House of Special Purpose. A tall wooden fence hid the building from the street. Windows were whitewashed, doors between rooms were removed, and guards could look in without warning. The prisoners read, prayed, washed clothes, baked bread, played cards, and took brief walks in the yard. Nicholas kept his diary in the same spare style he had used as emperor. 11 people remained together: Nicholas, Alexandra, their 5 children, Dr. Botkin, maid Anna Demidova, cook Ivan Kharitonov, and footman Alexei Trupp. They were captives, not a governing court. Outside, Russia's civil war was moving toward them. The Czechoslovak Legion and anti-Bolshevik forces advanced along the railway, and Yekaterinburg appeared likely to fall. Yakov Yurovsky, a disciplined Bolshevik and former watchmaker, took command of the house in early July. He replaced careless guards, collected weapons and valuables, and prepared the prison for a final order. On July 16th, the Ural Regional Soviet decided the captives could not become symbols for the approaching enemy. Yurovsky said he received the execution resolution that afternoon. Whether Lenin or Sverdlov approved the killings in advance remains disputed. The record establishes the local order and Moscow's acceptance afterward, not a signed Lenin command. That afternoon, guards removed 14-year-old kitchen boy Leonid Sednev, Alexei's playmate, on a false story that his uncle wanted to see him. The family noticed and worried. Alexandra's last diary entry wondered whether the boy would return. Then she recorded an ordinary final evening. She played bezique with Nicholas and went to bed at 10:30. Elsewhere in the house, Yurovsky selected shooters, assigned targets, and issued Nagant revolvers. Some men reportedly refused to shoot the young women and were removed from the detail. The executioners waited for a truck meant to carry the bodies. According to Yurovsky's later account, it arrived around 1:30 in the morning with the password, "chimney sweep." Yurovsky woke Botkin and repeated the cover story about city unrest. The doctor moved room to room, waking people who expected no death sentence. They dressed without being rushed. The daughters wore clothing hiding jewels sewn into bodices and cushions, emergency wealth prepared for an escape that never came. Alexei's injured leg and hemophilia left him unable to manage the stairs. Nicholas carried the boy, now almost as tall as his mother, against his chest. They crossed a courtyard into a bare room, roughly 6 meters by 5. A barred window stood high. The doorway behind them was the only exit. Alexandra asked for a chair. Nicholas asked for another for Alexei, while the daughters and 4 attendants arranged themselves behind and beside them as if waiting for transport. Then Yurovsky returned with armed men and read the Ural Soviet's decision. There had been no public trial, no defense, and no warning beyond the words spoken in that room. Nicholas turned, apparently unable to understand, and Yurovsky repeated the decision. A shot struck the former Tsar, and the squad opened fire almost together. The planned execution immediately became chaos. The room filled with gun smoke, noise, and men firing across one another at targets partly hidden by the people collapsing in front. Bullets struck plaster and wood and ricocheted through the cramped space. Yurovsky later admitted that he struggled to stop the disorderly firing and discovered several victims still alive. Jewels sewn into the daughter's clothing deflected some bullets and bayonets, as Yurovsky's account and recovered valuables indicate. They prolonged the killing. They saved no one. The survivors were killed at close range. All 7 family members and 4 attendants died. 11 people, none allowed to answer the sentence. The bodies were loaded onto the truck. Guards kept the house looking normal as it drove toward forest and abandoned mines north of the city. The improvised burial operation repeatedly failed. The truck bogged in mud, and the first mine shaft proved too shallow to hide the crime. Yurovsky's men removed the bodies, burned clothing, and tried again. 2 victims were burned and buried separately. The other 9 were taken toward a road crossing for another grave. At Pig's Meadow, the larger grave was covered with earth, railway sleepers, and vehicle tracks. Sulfuric acid damaged identification, but the concealment remained incomplete. Soviet authorities admitted Nicholas had been shot, but claimed the family was safe. White investigators found the scarred basement, not the grave, and uncertainty became legend. In 1979, researchers Alexander Avdonin and Gaily Ryabov located the larger burial site, but kept it secret under Soviet rule. The grave was officially opened only in 1991. 9 remains were recovered. DNA linked Nicholas and Alexandra to living relatives, and identified 3 daughters, while 2 missing children prolonged the Anastasia legend. A second grave found in 2007 held a boy and young woman. Independent tests identified Alexei and 1 sister. Every child had died in 1918. Nicholas ruled an autocracy marked by repression, inequality, and disastrous war, but children and attendants were not a regime. Romanov power ended with abdication. The basement ensured no immediate family remained to reclaim it.